They wanted you out. They never said it outright, but you felt it in every whisper, every dismissive glance, every moment they made you feel like you didn't belong. They tried to erase you, not with force, but with silence, not with fists, but with indifference. You saw it in the way doors closed before you even had a chance to knock. You heard it in the way they spoke your name like it was a burden, like it carried no weight. They wanted you small. They wanted you unseen. They wanted you gone. But you didn't go, did you? You stayed. Even when every fiber of your being screamed at you to walk away, even when the world made it easier to disappear than to fight for your place. You stayed when they told you that you weren't good enough, when they laughed behind your back, when they pretended you didn't exist. And in staying, you became something they never expected. You became a force. You became the one thing they couldn't control, the one presence they couldn't erase. And now, here they are, still watching you, still whispering, still trying to find ways to keep you from rising any higher. They don't realize it yet, but their obsession with pushing you out has made you the center of their world. Their rejection gave you power. Their doubt sharpened your edges. Every time they spoke your name with the intention of breaking you, they built you instead. They don't even see it, do they? How their cruelty became the soil where your resilience took root. How their attempts to bury you only made you grow taller. They don't understand that you've already won, but you don't feel like you've won, do you? Not yet, because for too long you've let their voices live in your head. You've mistaken their rejection for truth. You've mistaken their silence for a verdict. You've been waiting for them to see your worth, waiting for the world to tell you that you belong. But here's the truth. They don't get to decide that. They never did. You don't need their approval. You don't need their permission to take up space. You don't need them to accept you for you to rise. You've spent too much time doubting yourself, thinking that maybe they were right, that maybe you weren't enough. But if you weren't enough, why did they keep watching? If you weren't enough, why did they keep whispering your name in rooms you've never even stepped into? If you weren't enough, why do they still fear what you might become? Because deep down, they know what you don't. They know you were never meant to be small. They know you were never meant to fade away. They know that despite everything they did to keep you down, you refused to break. And now they are terrified because you're still here, because you're still fighting, because you have something they will never have, resilience forged in fire. So tell me, what are you waiting for? Are you still hoping for their validation? Are you still begging for a seat at their table? Stop. Stop waiting for them to see you. Stop waiting for them to change. They will never give you the credit you deserve, because they know the moment they do, they lose their grip on you. And that's the last thing they want. They need you to doubt yourself. They need you to keep playing small, because the second you realize who you truly are, the second you decide to stop shrinking for their comfort, you become unstoppable. They wanted you out, but here you are. They tried to erase you, but your presence is louder than ever. They don't own your story. They don't get to dictate your worth. So stand up, take your place, because whether they like it or not, you have already become the center of their world, and now it's time to own that power. You know what it feels like to be unwanted, to walk into a room and feel the weight of 1,000 unspoken words pressing against your chest, to hear your own name twisted into something ugly, something disposable, something that doesn't belong. You've felt it in the way they avoid eye contact, in the half-hearted smiles, in the invitations that never came. You've watched them gather without you, whisper without you, move forward without you, as if your existence was nothing more than a fleeting inconvenience. They threw stones at your name, hoping you'd crumble. They whispered lies behind closed doors and shouted them in public. They spun their stories so well that even you started to believe them. Maybe you weren't good enough. Maybe you were the problem. Maybe, just maybe, if you were quieter, smaller, less you, they'd finally accept you. So you tried, didn't you? You dulled your edges, softened your voice, became whatever they wanted you to be. And still, it wasn't enough, because it was never about you. It was never about your worth. It was about control. It was about keeping you in your place, keeping you uncertain, keeping you dependent on their validation. Because the moment you wake up, truly wake up, you become something they fear, a threat, a reminder that their words, their labels, their rejection were never the final say. But you don't feel like a threat, do you? Not yet. Because for too long, you've carried the weight of their judgment. You've replayed every insult, every dismissal, every moment they made you feel invisible. It's like a loop in your mind, an echo that refuses to fade. You hear their voices in your most vulnerable moments. You're not enough. You don't belong. You'll never be anything more. And sometimes it feels easier to believe them. That's what the villain wants. The one that lives inside your head. The one that feeds on your doubt, your fear, your hesitation. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need an enemy in the physical world. It knows how to make you destroy yourself from the inside out. The voices that started as theirs have become your own. And now you're the one holding yourself back. You're the one writing yourself out of the story before it even begins. But listen to me. You are not your pain. You are not the rejection. You are not the failures, the betrayals, the moments they made you feel like you were nothing. You are something far greater than they ever gave you credit for. And the fact that you are still here, still fighting, still refusing to disappear is proof that they never had the power they thought they did. Because if they had truly succeeded, you wouldn't be listening to this right now. If they had truly won, you wouldn't still be standing. But here you are. Scarred, yes. Weary, absolutely. But still here. And that means something. That means you have something inside you that they couldn't break. That means you are not done yet. You are not alone in this battle. There are others like you. Others who have felt the sting of rejection, the weight of being cast aside. Others who have spent too many nights wondering why they weren't enough. But the truth is, you were always enough. You were always worthy. And the fact that they tried so hard to break you, that's not a reflection of your weakness. It's a testament to your power. Because they wouldn't have fought so hard to silence you if you didn't have something worth saying. They wouldn't have tried so desperately to push you out if you didn't belong. They saw something in you. Something rare, something undeniable. And instead of celebrating it, they feared it. Because your presence reminds them of everything they will never be. So tell me, are you going to keep carrying their words like chains around your neck? Are you going to keep shrinking to fit into the spaces they've left for you? Or are you finally going to stand up and say, enough? Enough letting them decide your worth. Enough waiting for permission to exist. Enough playing by rules designed to keep you small. They wanted you out, but you stayed, and now they don't know what to do with you. Because the thing about those who survive rejection, who endure humiliation, who refuse to be erased, they become impossible to ignore. They become unshakable. They become the very thing the world is forced to reckon with. And you, my friend, are a reckoning waiting to happen. There's a moment when the weight becomes too much. When you've carried the rejection, the whispers, the betrayals for so long that they start to feel like a part of you, like they've seeped into your bones, poisoning the very core of who you are. You tell yourself that you don't care, that their words don't matter, that their absence doesn't sting. But late at night, when the world is quiet and there's no one left to pretend for, you feel it, the aching, suffocating loneliness that wraps around you like a second skin. You thought you were at the end, that they had succeeded in silencing you, that the weight of everything, their doubts, their cruelty, their indifference, had finally crushed whatever fight you had left. You told yourself you wouldn't let them win, but the truth is, you don't know how to keep going. Because what's left to fight for when the battle feels endless? What's left to prove when no one is watching? You feel invisible, forgotten. Like the world has already moved on without you, like you could disappear tomorrow and it wouldn't make a difference. You wonder if maybe they were right all along. Maybe you were never meant to be anything more. Maybe this is where your story ends. Rock bottom. That's what they call it, isn't it? The place where hope shrivels and dreams turn to dust. The place where every failure, every heartbreak, every rejection echoes louder than anything else. The place where giving up doesn't just feel like an option. It feels like the only way out. And the worst part, no one sees it. No one sees how hard you've fought just to make it this far. No one sees the battles you wage in silence, the nights spent wrestling with your own thoughts. No one sees the way you've had to claw your way through the darkness, searching for even the smallest glimmer of light. They don't see, and they don't care. So you wait. You wait for someone to notice, for someone to reach out, for someone to tell you that you matter. You wait for an apology that will never come, for recognition that was never theirs to give. You wait for a sign, something, anything, to tell you that it's not too late. But here's the truth. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to swoop in and pull you out of this. No one is going to hand you a new beginning, because that's not how rock bottom works. Rock bottom isn't where your story ends. It's where it begins. It's where everything false, everything weak, everything that was never meant for you gets stripped away. It's where you are forced to look at yourself, not through their eyes, not through their judgment, but through your own. The past is not. It's where you finally see what has been true all along. You were never broken. You were buried. And buried things don't die. They grow. But I know it doesn't feel that way. I know right now you can't see the way forward. I know you're tired. I know you're angry. I know you're wondering if fighting is even worth it anymore. And I won't lie to you. I won't tell you that the road ahead will be easy. I won't pretend that you won't stumble, won't fall, won't want to give up again. But I will tell you this. The fact that you're still here means something. The fact that you're still listening means something. Because deep down, no matter how much pain you've endured, no matter how many times you've been knocked down, there is a part of you that refuses to give up. A part of you that knows there is more waiting for you beyond this darkness. a part of you that is ready to rise. So tell me, are you ready to see what's on the other side of this? Are you ready to stop waiting for someone else to tell you that you matter? Because you do. You always have. And now it's time for you to believe it. You think this darkness is the end. You think that because you cannot see the way forward, there must not be one. But you have forgotten something. The most powerful transformations happen in the dark. A seed buried beneath layers of soil doesn't panic. It doesn't mourn the loss of the sunlight. It doesn't see its burial as an ending. It waits. It prepares. Because it knows something you have forgotten. What's buried is not lost. What's buried is destined to rise. Right now, you feel trapped. Like the walls are closing in. Like, no matter how hard you push, nothing changes. But what if this place, this feeling, this darkness, what if it's not your grave? What if it's your soil? What if everything that has broken you, everything that has beaten you down, has been preparing you for something greater? You were never meant to stay here. But before you rise, before you break through, you must understand one thing. No one is coming to lift you out of this. You have spent too long waiting for an apology, waiting for recognition, waiting for someone to tell you that you are good enough, worthy enough, strong enough. But let me ask you, what if no one ever does? What if the words you crave never come? Does that mean you stop? Does that mean you stay buried forever? No, because your transformation was never meant to come from them. No one can give you what you need. No one can hand you your power. No one can wake you up except you. So let's start small. Let's start with the truth. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not lost. You have simply been waiting for permission to rise. And I'm here to tell you, you don't need permission. But I won't lie to you. This won't be easy. Growth never is. Seeds don't break through the earth without effort. They don't rise without struggle. And you are no different. You will have to fight for every inch. You will have to push against the weight of everything that has tried to hold you down. You will have to move forward without certainty, without guarantees, without knowing exactly how this ends. But isn't that better than staying here? Isn't that better than letting them win? Because make no mistake, if you give up now, they win. The voices that told you that you would never be enough, they win. The ones who tried to erase you, diminish you, silence you, they win. But if you get up, if you push forward, if you choose to believe in something greater for yourself, even before you can see it, you win. So let's begin, not with grand gestures, not with impossible leaps. Let's begin with something small, a choice, a decision. Right now, in this moment, choose to believe that there is more waiting for you. Choose to believe that you are capable of something greater. Choose to believe that no matter how long you've been buried, you can still rise. Because even the seed buried under dirt doesn't fear the darkness. It knows that one day it will break through. One day it will rise toward the light. And you are no different. You have always been more than they told you. You have always been stronger than you knew. And now it's time to prove it. To yourself, to the world, to the very forces that tried to keep you down. You are not done. You are just beginning. The world tried to break you. It threw obstacles in your path, whispered lies into your ears, and waited for the moment you would finally collapse under the weight of it all. But you didn't, did you? You're still here, and now it's time to understand what that truly means. Your pain is not a curse. It is not a punishment. It is not proof that you were never meant to rise. No, the pain you've endured is fuel. It has sharpened you, strengthened you, burned away the parts of you that were never meant to last. Every scar, every tear, every heartbreak, it has all been leading you here, to this moment, to this realization. You were never meant to be a victim. You were meant to be a warrior. You have spent too long believing that your worth is determined by others, that their acceptance, their approval, their validation is what gives you value. But tell me, how much longer will you wait for them to see what has always been true? How much longer will you let their opinions dictate your path? They do not own you. They do not define you. And they sure as hell do not get to decide your future. Because the power, the strength, the resilience, it was never in their hands. It has always been in yours. But here's the part they never told you. Resilience isn't just about surviving. It's about choosing every single day to keep going. It's about waking up even when the weight of the past tries to hold you down. It's about standing tall even when the world tells you to kneel. It's about looking your fears, your doubts, your demons in the eye and saying, "You do not own me." You have spent too long running from yourself, too long letting the past define you, too long waiting for a sign that you are ready. But the truth? You won't feel ready, not at first. You won't wake up one day magically fearless, free from doubt, free from hesitation. No, the change happens in the doing, in the decision to rise even when you're still scared, in the refusal to let fear be the thing that decides your fate. So what will it be? Will you keep playing small? Will you keep waiting for permission? Or will you finally take what has always been yours? Because you don't need their approval, you never did. Everything you've been searching for has been inside you all along. Every ounce of strength, every piece of courage, every reason to keep moving forward. It was never about them. It was never about what they thought of you. It was always about you and what you choose to do with what you've been given. So choose. Choose to rise. Choose to reclaim your story. Choose to stop surviving and start living. Because this is the moment everything changes. The moment you stop being afraid of your own power. The moment you stop asking for permission to exist. The moment you decide that the past does not get to define you. This is your life, your story, your fight, and it's time to own every part of it. Look at how far you've come. Look at everything you've survived, the battles you fought in silence, the nights you doubted yourself, the moments when giving up seemed easier than pushing forward. And yet, here you are, still standing, still fighting, still proving them wrong, even if you don't fully realize it yet. They tried to erase you, they tried to cast you aside, to push you so far into the background that you would fade into nothing. But what they never understood, what they couldn't understand, is that people like you don't disappear. People like you don't break under the weight of rejection. People like you don't stay silent when the world tells them to shrink. They thought you were out of the game. They thought they had won, but here's the truth. They were watching you the whole time. They were keeping tabs, whispering your name in rooms you hadn't even entered yet. You weren't invisible. You were a threat. And that's what scared them the most. Because your survival was an act of defiance. Your ability to keep going despite the odds, despite the setbacks, despite the countless times they tried to convince you that you weren't enough. That is power. That is strength. And now you finally see it for what it is. You were never the background character in their story. You were the plot twist they never saw coming. The one who refused to be written off. The one who turned pain into power. The one who transformed doubt into undeniable, unstoppable force. And now, they have no choice but to watch as you rise. So let this be the moment you stop questioning your worth. Let this be the moment you stop waiting for their approval. Let this be the moment you own your power. Fully, unapologetically, without hesitation. You were never just another name they could forget. You were never just another face in the crowd. You were always something greater. And now, it's time for you to step into it. This is your turning point. The moment you stop being who they told you to be and start being who you were always meant to become. Look at yourself now, not through the eyes of those who doubted you, not through the lens of your past mistakes. Look at yourself as you are. Resilient, unshaken, unstoppable. The version of you that once hesitated, that once questioned their worth, that once shrank to fit spaces that were never meant to hold them, that version is gone. Because you are not what they said you were. You are not the names they called you. You are not the failures you once feared defined you. You are the person who refused to stay down. The person who turned every setback into a lesson, every rejection into fuel, every scar into a testament of survival. You did not crumble under the weight of their expectations, you shattered them. So what now? What does life look like when you stop playing by their rules? When you stop waiting for permission to take up space? When you finally embrace the power that has always been inside you? It looks like freedom. It looks like stepping into every room knowing you belong there. Not because they said so, but because you decided so. It looks like confidence that is no longer dependent on the approval of others. It looks like walking without fear, speaking without apology, and choosing your own destiny. Because you are not a victim of your past. You are not bound to the person you used to be. You are more than the moments that tried to define you. You are limitless. You are power in motion. You are the force they never saw coming. And now it's time to live like it. No more waiting, no more hesitating, no more standing in the shadows of your own life. The moment you've been waiting for isn't coming, it's here. The permission you've been seeking will never arrive because it was never theirs to give. It was yours all along. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to pull you out of this, lift you up, or hand you the life you were meant to live. And that's not a curse. It's the greatest gift you've ever been given. Because it means you don't have to wait. You don't have to ask. You don't have to beg for a chance to exist on your own terms. You just have to choose. And the choice is simple. You can keep carrying their doubts, their judgments, their fears, as if they were your own, or you can set them down and walk away. You can keep living the story they wrote for you, or you can grab the pen and write your own. You can let their rejection define you, or you can let it be the thing that fueled your rise. The time for questioning is over. The time for second guessing is done. The only thing left is action. Now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when they finally see your worth. Now, because they wanted you out, but you stayed. They wanted you invisible, but you became the center of their world. And now, it's time to own that power. It's time to take your place. It's time to rise.